Welcome to Noun Tutorial TV. Like, share and subscribe. GST203 Introduction to Philosophy and Logic Summary. Dash is often used to characterize a person or a group of persons' attitudes to life. Philosophy. Dash means the general pattern or the habitual way of response of the person to events. Attitude. Dash characterizes a person's expressed or observed worldview, which may be the sum of his assumptions, beliefs, attitudes, and prejudices which are partly inherited and partly acquired in the process of living. Attitude. The term dash refers to the profound sayings of the elders which are witty and pregnant with meanings. Philosophy. Dash conception of philosophy is itself the result of philosophical doctrine that sees knowledge as exclusively depending on sense experience. The master scientist conception of philosophy. Dash goes beyond experimental and observable reality. Etymologically, the word philosophy comes from the Greek words philos, philia, philion which means friend, love, to love, and sophia which means wisdom. The Greek word sophia means dash dash. Wisdom. Dash refers to such concepts as friendliness, affection, or any such concept conducive to the establishment of friendship between persons. Philia. Dash refers to the highest intellectual and especially philosophical excellence of which the human mind is capable, and which is the result of studying nature for its own sake. Sophia. Dash in the philosophical sense is a habit of applying the intellect in a systematic way as a guide and a beacon in one's activities. Wisdom. Dash dash, in his conversation with Phaedrus, gives his criteria for ascribing wisdom to anyone, namely, an originality of thought and a critical mind even about his or her own production. Socrates. Socrates, in his conversation with dash dash, gives his criteria for ascribing wisdom to anyone, namely, an originality of thought and a critical mind even about his or her own production. Phaedrus. Socrates, in his conversation with Phaedrus, gives his criteria for ascribing to anyone, namely, an originality of thought and a critical mind even about his or her own production. Wisdom. Dash had described himself as one who regards every aspect of reality with thoughtful attention for achieving a clearer, distinct, and more comprehensive understanding. Pythagoras. Dash consists in the constant and unwavering disposition to seek the truth. Philosophy. According to dash dash, philosophy is rightly called the knowledge of the truth. Aristotle. According to Aristotle, dash is rightly called the knowledge of the truth. Philosophy. According to Aristotle, philosophy is rightly called dash dash the knowledge of the truth. The dash of philosophical consists in arguing out the entire process of the subject in question, in the manner of a dialogue. Socratic method. The dash view is refuted by exposing the inconsistencies and contradictions involved in accepting it as true. Prima facie. The method of Socrates is deductive in the sense that dash dash, it draws out the consequences and implications of certain concepts and judges their validity. Dash method mostly consisted in the grouping of scattered particulars into a single concept or idea and the dissection of this concept or idea into classes, i.e., the generalization and arrangement of the idea. Plato's dialectic. According to the dash dash, everything is real when it tends to fruitful activity and results. Pragmatic method. Dash is the touchstone of philosophical endeavor, of all activity physical, mental, moral, or spiritual. Human interest. Dash are to be judged by results, and the test of truth is workability. Values. Dash is said to have begun with wonder. Philosophy. Philosophy is said to have begun with wonder. Dash as a method of philosophy is mainly confined to sense experience. Empiricism. Empiricism as a method of philosophy is mainly confined to dash dash sense experience. Dash urges that all knowledge obtained by the senses is of what is already existent outside themselves and that reason has its function in carefully judging the nature of the perceptive material provided to it by the senses. Empiricism. The laws of reason, according to empiricism, are copies of and controlled by knowledge which is posteriori. No knowledge in the sense of what rationalism contends to be present in reason is ever possible. A priori. Knowledge independent of sense experience is inconceivable. A priori. The is considered an expression of the innate rational nature of the knowing subject. Universe. The criterion of truth is not sensory but rational and deductive. Intellectual. The criterion of truth is not sensory but intellectual, and deductive. Rational. The criterion of truth is not sensory but intellectual, rational and deductive. The method of takes reason to be the sole means of acquiring philosophical knowledge. Rationalism. The method of rationalism takes to be the sole means of acquiring philosophical knowledge. Reason. The method of rationalism takes reason to be the sole means of acquiring philosophical knowledge. According to the objective universe is known, arranged, and controlled by the a priori laws of reason. Rationalism. According to rationalism, the objective universe is known, arranged, and controlled by the laws of reason. A priori. Is a priori and is independent of sense experience. True knowledge. True knowledge is and is independent of sense experience. A priori. True knowledge is a priori and is independent of sense experience. Follows the method of the analysis of the conditions and limits of knowledge. Kant. The world of reality cannot be known by the powers that man possesses at present. True. Kant's critical method was taken much further and completed by Hegel. Kant's critical method was taken much further and completed by Hegel in a staggering system of idealism built by means of what he termed the dialectical method. Logic has been variously defined by different scholars. Defines logic as the study of the methods and principles used in distinguishing good, correct, from bad, incorrect, reasoning, 1972. Copy defines as the study of the methods and principles used in distinguishing good, correct, from bad, incorrect, reasoning, 1972. Logic. Copy defines logic as the study of the methods and principles used in distinguishing good, correct, from bad, incorrect, reasoning. Sees logic as the science that appraises reasoning as correct or incorrect. Nancy sees logic as the science that appraises reasoning as correct or incorrect. On his part defines logic as an attempt to distinguish between correct, valid, and incorrect, invalid, arguments. Kahane. According to Dipoirel, 1999, 12, is that branch of philosophy that deals with the structure and principles of reasoning or sound argument. Logic. According to logic is that branch of philosophy that deals with the structure and principles of reasoning or sound argument. Dipoirel. Is the study of the principles of reasoning, especially of the structure of proposition as distinguished from their content, and of method and validity in deductive reasoning. Logic. According to logic is a reflective study that provides the canons for judging and evaluation of correct reasoning. 8 Ali. According to 8 Ali, 2003:5, logic is a reflective study that provides the canons for judging and evaluation of correct reasoning. Is the study of how to ensure that your reasoning conforms to fundamental principles that governs correct reasoning. Logic. Etymologically, logic as a discipline derives from the Greek word logos. Etymologically, logic as a discipline derives from the Greek word logos, which means reasoned discourse. The Greek word logos means reasoned discourse. Is a tool for valid reasoning and essential weapon for philosophical reflection and for the separation of correct reasoning from the incorrect reasoning. Logos. Dash enables philosophers to make their arguments well stated and persuasive more than other people do. Logic. Logic enables dash to make their arguments well stated and persuasive more than other people do. Philosophers. The dash is most concerned with. Logician. The logician is most concerned with dash dash. Argument. Dash can be described as a string of statement that can simply be divided into two parts, namely premise, S, and conclusion. Argument. Argument can simply be divided into dash parts. 2. Argument can simply be divided into two parts, namely dash dash. Premise, S, and conclusion. Dash argument could take various patterns like seminar paper, debate, a write-up. Complex. There are basically dash types of argument. 2. Their types of argument are dash and inductive argument. Deductive argument. Their types of argument are deductive argument and dash dash. Inductive argument. In logic, an argument is dash when the conclusion follows from its premises with absolute necessity or certainty. Deductive. Dash is the process of moving from the general to the specific. Deduction. Etymologically, it derives from two Greek words epistem, which means knowledge, and logos, which means dash science of study, discourse, or reasoning. The Greek word epistem means dash dash knowledge. The Greek word logos means dash dash science of study, discourse, or reasoning. Dash is the study or the science of knowledge. Epistemology. Dash is the branch of philosophy which investigates the scope, source, and limitations of human knowledge. Epistemology. Dash has been defined as the science of being as being. Metaphysics. Dash is the branch of philosophy that studies reality in its most comprehensive scope and fundamental principles. Metaphysics. Dash is the science that tries to determine the real nature of things. Metaphysics. For dash it is the knowledge of the supersensible, therefore, real being existent in the ideal world and thereof re-explanatory of the realities of this transient world. Plato. According to, all other disciplines study aspects of reality or being, but none of them concerns itself with the study of being as such. Aristotle. Indeed, the science of being would be the most basic, for in a sense all other special sciences presupposed it. That science according to dash is metaphysics. Aristotle. Indeed, the science of being would be the most basic, for in a sense all other special sciences presupposed it. That science according to Aristotle is dash dash. Metaphysics. Dash is a general study of existence and reality. Metaphysics. Metaphysics is a general study of dash and reality. Existence. Metaphysics is a general study of existence and dash dash reality. The word metaphysics is derived from the Greek word dash dash metatophysica. The Greek word metatophysica means dash dash after the physics. Dash is a commentator on Aristotle's works. Andronicus. The word metaphysics was first used by dash dash Andronicus of Rhodes. Dash wrote a series of books dealing with nature which he himself called the Physics. Aristotle. Aristotle wrote a series of books dealing with nature which he himself called dash the Physics. Dash means that which is beyond the physical eye. Metaphysics. Metaphysics means that which is beyond the dash dash physical eye. Dash is mostly known as the branch of philosophy which deals with the morality of human actions in society. Ethics. Etymologically, ethics derived from the Greek word dash dash ethos. The Greek word ethos means dash dash custom or character. Ethics is also called dash dash moral philosophy. Dash is the branch of philosophy that concerns itself with right, or wrong, and other issues related to evaluating human action. Ethics. Dash was the first to systematize the discipline, ethics. Socrates. Dash was the first to claim that the unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates. Dash devoted all his life to a critical examination of human behavior. Socrates. Dash was the first to confess that the only thing I know is that I know nothing. Socrates. Dash is referred to as the science of human conduct. Ethics. Noun Tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. Dash is the philosophical study of the so-called moral facts, namely such things as moral evaluations, commandments, norms, virtuous acts, the manifestations of conscience. Ethics. Dash is the philosophical study of the activities that secure the good life for man. Ethics. Dash is divided into descriptive, prescriptive, or normative, and metaethics. Ethics. Ethics is divided into prescriptive or normative, and metaethics. Descriptive. Ethics is divided into descriptive, or normative, and metaethics. Prescriptive. Ethics is divided into descriptive, prescriptive, or and metaethics. Normative. Ethics is divided into descriptive, prescriptive, or normative, and Metaethics. The duty of ethics is to examine the moral views held by human beings or the society and to confirm whether these views are universal or not. Descriptive. The main duty of ethics is to prescribe what ought to be both for humans and society. Normative. Prescribes that criteria for human actions properly be judged as morally good or bad. Normative ethics. Is the part of ethics that deals with the logic and language of ethical concepts and terms. Metaethics. Is mostly concerned with the elucidation or description and implication of ethical terms such as good, bad, right, wrong, ought, etc. Metaethics. The core branches of are logic, metaphysics, epistemology and ethics. Philosophy. The core branches of philosophy are metaphysics, epistemology and ethics. Logic. The core branches of philosophy are logic, epistemology and ethics. Noun Tutorial TV, share and subscribe. Metaphysics. The core branches of philosophy are logic, metaphysics, and ethics. Epistemology. The core branches of philosophy are logic, metaphysics, epistemology and ethics. The core branches of philosophy are logic, metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics. According to Harold H. Titus, can be defined as a system of man's understanding of nature, society, and thought. Scientific knowledge. Reflects the world in concepts, categories, and laws whose truth is verified by practical experience. Science. Is the study of the totality of the concrete spheres of material reality. Science. Is concerned to investigate and establish objective laws of nature by forming working hypotheses by which man may be enabled to harness nature to his purposes and transform his environment. Science. The main purpose of as discipline is to observe, understand natural phenomena and then control processes. Science. The main purpose of science as discipline is to observe, understand natural phenomena and then control processes. To any it is assumed that the universe, the orderly and natural phenomena are predictable and lawful. Scientist. To any scientist it is assumed that the orderly and natural phenomena are predictable and lawful. Universe. To any scientist it is assumed that the universe, the orderly and are predictable and lawful. Natural phenomena. Noun Tutorial TV, share and subscribe. To any scientist it is assumed that the universe, the orderly and natural phenomena are and lawful. Predictable. To any scientist it is assumed that the universe, the orderly and phenomena are predictable and lawful. Natural. To any scientist it is assumed that the universe, the orderly and natural phenomena are predictable and lawful. The main business is to explain natural phenomena. Scientist. The scientist main business is to explain phenomena. Natural. The scientist main business is To explain natural phenomena. The scientist's main business is to explain natural phenomena, while a philosopher does not intend to do so. True. There are steps procedures in any scientific inquiry. 6. The procedures in a scientific inquiry are, observation, inductive generalization, hypothesis, proof, or proof and knowledge. Hypothesis, attempted verification of. The philosopher's inquiry begins where that of the scientist stops. True. Philosophy operates at a level. Different. Operates at a different level. Philosophy. The purposes of and are fundamentally opposed. Philosophy and religion. The purposes of philosophy and religion are fundamentally opposed. Noun Tutorial TV, share and subscribe. A philosopher is always critical while a religionist is not. True. In, any known assumption is subject to critical scrutiny. Philosophy. In philosophy, any known is subject to critical scrutiny. Assumption. In philosophy, any known assumption is subject to critical scrutiny. In, knowledge is sought simply for its own sake. Philosophy. In philosophy, is sought simply for its own sake. Knowledge. A philosopher is not a magician. A is not a magician. Philosopher. A philosopher is not a magician. True. Are the basic concerns of a philosopher. Critical reasoning, neutrality, and the desire for knowledge for its own sake. Neutrality and the desire for knowledge for its own sake are the basic concerns of a philosopher. Critical reasoning. Critical reasoning, and the desire for knowledge for its own sake are the basic concerns of a philosopher. Neutrality. Critical reasoning, neutrality, and for its own sake are the basic concerns of a philosopher. Desire for knowledge. Critical reasoning, neutrality, and the desire for knowledge for its own sake are the basic concerns of a philosopher. Noun Tutorial TV, share and subscribe. Refers to the study of the fundamental principles of the theory of education as distinguished from the science or art of education. Philosophy and education. Is the empirical study of educational process and the techniques or methods of educational practice. Philosophy and education. In branch of philosophy, the philosopher examines the concept of education and what it means to educate and how best it can be achieved. Philosophy and education. The function philosophy performs in law is that it studies the nature of law and philosophical principles of law and justice with reference to the origin and the end of the civil law and the principles that should govern its formulation. There are classifications of the main object of philosophy of law 3. According to Pizzorni, there are 3 classifications of the main object of philosophy of law, and these are: 1. The universal concept of law, that is its essential features which must be present in every juridical system. 2. The foundation of law from which every legal system derives its origin and values. 3. The standard or criteria with which all existing laws are guided and evaluated, for the problem of the evaluation of law is the problem of the philosophy of law. Philosophy of law differs from the science of law. True. The deepens man's knowledge of laws or legal system. Science of law. The broadens man's horizon and opens the human mind to see that there is more to the reality of law and legal experience than can be seen through the empirical study of law. Philosophy of law. Philosophy provides sense of direction. Provides us with a unity of outlook and response to the reality of the world in which we live and operate. Philosophy. Noun Tutorial TV, share and subscribe. Provides us with the parameters for discernment and for judging issues and articulating problems intelligently and critically. Philosophy. In the intellectual realm trains one to think clearly, critically, and independently. Philosophy. Philosophy in the intellectual realm trains one to think clearly, critically, and independently. Through one can develop analytical abilities with which one can effectively handle both practical and abstract issues. Philosophy. As in any field, philosophy provides the intellectual background helpful to success. Professional. As a professional in any field, provides the intellectual background helpful to success. Philosophy. As a professional in any field, philosophy provides the helpful to success. Intellectual background. The relationship and the difference between knowledge, opinion, and belief depend on the person's position. The philosophical understanding of knowledge is very different from that of the layman. For a knowledge, opinion and belief are interwoven. But it is not possible in philosophy. Layman. For a layman, are interwoven. Knowledge, opinion, and belief. Is a precondition for knowledge. Believing. Believing is a precondition for knowledge. Is more qualitative than opinion and belief. Noun tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. Knowledge. And cannot be true unless it is grounded or supported with evidence. Opinion or belief. Is the unique characteristic of knowledge. Evidence. Knowledge is more qualitative than and belief. Opinion. Knowledge is more than opinion and belief. Qualitative. Knowledge is more qualitative than opinion and belief. Knowledge is more qualitative than and opinion and belief. An opinion or cannot be true unless it is grounded or supported with evidence. Belief. And or belief cannot be true unless it is grounded or supported with evidence. Opinion. An opinion or belief cannot be true unless it is grounded or supported with Evidence. Evidence is the unique of knowledge. Characteristic. An opinion or belief cannot be unless it is grounded or supported with evidence. True. Evidence is the characteristic of knowledge. Unique. Is objective, i.e. it must be communicable and verifiable. Knowledge. Knowledge is i.e. it must be communicable and verifiable. Objective. Knowledge is objective, i.e. it must be and verifiable. Communicable. Noun tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. Knowledge is objective, i.e. it must be communicable and verifiable. Is a school of thought in epistemology which holds that human beings can acquire knowledge of reality using our minds alone, by thinking or pure reason. Rationalism. Rationalism is a school of thought in which holds that human beings can acquire knowledge of reality using our minds alone, by thinking or pure reason. Epistemology. Defines man as a rational animal. Aristotle. Aristotle defines man as a rational animal. The ability to think is what is called reason. Sense experience is a source of knowledge. The are the proponents of sense experience theory. Empiricists. The empiricists are the of sense experience theory. Proponents. The empiricists are the proponents of theory. Sense experience. The empiricists are the proponents of sense experience theory. To any, as far as knowledge is concerned, only sense experience matters. Empiricist. To any empiricist, as far as is concerned, only sense experience matters. Knowledge. To any empiricist, as far as knowledge is concerned, only matters. Sense experience. Noun tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. Is the philosophical theory which denies reason while insisting that experience is always the necessary ingredient in our knowledge claims of the natural world. Empiricism. Asserted est percipii, meaning to be is to be perceived. Bishop George Berkeley. Bishop George Berkeley asserted est percipii, meaning to be is to be perceived. The following are the proponents of sense experience. Bishop George Berkeley, David Hume, John Locke, Authority is also considered as one of the sources of knowledge. True. As source of knowledge occurs when we make certain claims to knowledge based on the authority of someone who is a specialist in the particular field of knowledge. Authority. Authority as source of knowledge occurs when we make certain claims to knowledge based on the authority of someone who is a specialist in the particular field of knowledge. Defines intuition as the immediacy of apprehension. Baum defines intuition as the immediacy of apprehension. According to Baum, is the name we give to the way awareness apprehends when awareness apprehends appearance directly. Intuition. The stages of development in philosophy are referred to as an age. The history of philosophy can be classified into the following: 1. Ancient age, which include Pre-Socratic, Socratic, or classical philosophy, and some other ancient philosophical schools. 2. Medieval age. Noun tutorial TV, share and subscribe. 3. Modern age, age of enlightenment and age of reason. 4. Late modern age. 5. Contemporary philosophy. Grew out of wonder and curiosity. Philosophy. Philosophy grew out of and curiosity. Wonder. Philosophy grew out of wonder and curiosity. Philosophy grew out of wonder and curiosity. Mean everything apart from the Eastern philosophy of China, Indian, Japan, etc. Western philosophy. Natural philosophy, now called science. According to, he thought the whole universe was composed of different forms of water. Thales. According to Thales, he thought the whole universe was composed of different forms of water. According to, water is the primary source of all things in the universe. Thales. According to Thales, is the primary source of all things in the universe. Water. Is said to have predicted an eclipse of the sun which is believed to have occurred in 585 BC. Thales. Thales is said to have predicted an which is believed to have occurred in 585 BC. Eclipse of the sun. Thales is said to have predicted an eclipse of the sun which is believed to have occurred in 585 BC. Is the second Greek philosopher and he was a pupil of Thales. Noun tutorial TV, share and subscribe. Anaximander. Anaximander is the Greek philosopher. Second. Anaximander was a pupil of Thales. Was from Miletus in Ionia. Anaximander. Anaximander was from in Ionia. Miletus. Anaximander was from Miletus in Ionia. According to Anaximander, the source of all things must therefore be a neutral element. Is the third Greek philosopher. Anaximenes. Anaximenes is the Greek philosopher. Third. According to Anaximenes, is the original source and the primary element of all things. Air. To explain his position, develops what he called the theory of condensation and refraction. Anaximenes. To explain his position, Anaximenes develops what he called the theory of condensation and refraction. 2. The earth is flat and rests on air. Anaximenes. To Anaximenes, the is flat and rests on air. Earth. To Anaximenes, the earth is and rests on air. Flat. To Anaximenes, the earth is flat and rests on Noun tutorial TV, share and subscribe. Air. The three philosophers came from the same city called Miletus. The three philosophers came from the same city called Miletus in Ionia, and their philosophical discussion was referred to as the Ionian school of philosophy. Thought that the original stuff from which all things were made is fire. Heraclitus. Heraclitus thought that the original stuff from which all things were made is fire. Zeno of Elea was a student of Parmenides. Combined their ideas into the theory of the four classical elements, earth, air, fire, and water. Empedocles and Democritus. Empedocles and Democritus combined their ideas into the theory of the four classical elements, earth, air, fire, and water. Democritus developed the extremely influential idea of atomism. Simply states that all of reality is composed of tiny, indivisible, and indestructible building blocks known as atoms. Atomism theory. Atomism theory simply states that all of reality is composed of tiny, indivisible, and indestructible building blocks known as atoms. Is known for his claim that with figures the world can be constructed. Pythagoras. Plato was a pupil of Socrates. Was the third in the main trio of classical philosophers. Aristotle. Noun tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. Aristotle was student. Plato's. Aristotle was the in the main trio of classical philosophers. Third. Aristotle was engaged in a system of logic called, with its emphasis on syllogism, deductive logic. Aristotle was engaged in a system of logic called deductive logic, with its emphasis on syllogism. Group held a relativistic view on knowledge. Sophism. Believed that there is no absolute truth and two points of view can be acceptable at the same time. Sophism. Group rejected all conventional desires for health, wealth, power, and fame, and advocated a life free from all possessions and property as the way to achieving virtue. Cynicism. Skepticism is also known as Pyrrhonism. Main goal was to attain happiness and tranquility through leading a simple, moderate life, the cultivation of friendships and the limiting of desires, quite contrary to the common perception of the word Epicurean. Epicureanism. Epicureanism is a group was named after its founder Epicurus. The are of the view that pleasure is the most important pursuit of mankind, and that we should always act so as to maximize our own pleasure. Hedonists. Stoicism theory was developed by Zeno of Citium. Neoplatonism developed out of Plato's work, largely by Noun tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. Plotinus. The medieval period is called the Renaissance. Medieval/Middle Age period was around century 11th introduced the concept of the tabula rasa, the idea that humans are born with no innate or built-in mental content. Avicenna. Avicenna introduced the concept of the tabula rasa. Hailed from Tagaste in North Africa. Saint Augustine. Saint Augustine hailed from in North Africa. Tagaste. Was the first philosopher who introduced the problem of evil in the world of utmost importance. Saint Augustine. Is best known as the originator of the ontological argument for the existence of God by abstract reasoning alone. Saint Anselm. Saint Anselm is best known as the originator of the for the existence of God by abstract reasoning alone. Ontological argument. Is often regarded as the first of the scholastics. Saint Anselm. Saint Anselm is often regarded as the first of the scholastics. Age is classified as the period of revival of classical civilization and learning, which occurred in the 15th and 16th century. Renaissance Age. Noun tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. Was marked by a movement away from religion and medieval scholasticism and towards humanism, the belief that humans can solve their own problems through reliance on reason and the scientific method, and a new sense of critical inquiry. Renaissance Age. Attacked many of the traditions of the Catholic Church and popular superstitions, and became the intellectual father of the European Reformation. Erasmus. Was known for his acclaimed cynical and devious political philosophy. Niccolò Machiavelli. Book Utopia influenced generations of politicians and planners and even the early development of socialist ideas. Thomas More. Belief is that truth requires evidence from the real world. Francis Bacon. Is the belief that all knowledge arises from intellectual and deductive reason, rather than from the senses. Rationalism. Represent the belief that the origin of all knowledge is sense experience. Empiricism. Was the first figure in the loose movement known as rationalism. René Descartes. René Descartes was the first figure in the loose movement known as rationalism. Is the second great figure of rationalism. Spinoza. Spinoza is the second great figure of rationalism. Is the third great rationalist, and he was a German philosopher. Gottfried Leibniz. Gottfried Leibniz is the great rationalist, and he was a German philosopher. Noun Tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. Third. According to theory, the real world is actually composed of eternal, non-material, and mutually independent elements he called monads, and the material world that we see and touch is actually just phenomena, appearances or byproducts of the underlying real world. Leibniz. According to Leibniz theory, the real world is actually composed of eternal, non-material, and mutually independent elements he called monads. A French philosopher, was an important figure in 17th century. Nicolas Malebranche. Nicolas Malebranche, a French philosopher, was an important figure in century. 17th argued that all of our ideas, whether simple or complex, are ultimately derived from experience, so that the knowledge of which we are capable is therefore severely limited both in its scope and in its certainty. John Locke. Developed the rather counterintuitive system known as immaterialism. Bishop George Berkeley. Bishop George Berkeley developed the rather counterintuitive system known as immaterialism. Was the third, and perhaps greatest, of the movement. David Hume. Described in his famous book Leviathan how the natural state of mankind was brute-like and poor, and how the modern state was a kind of social contract. Thomas Hobbes. Is whereby individuals deliberately give up their natural rights for the sake of protection by the state. Contractarianism. Was considered as one of the founding fathers of modern conservatism and liberalism. Edmund Burke. Was a German philosopher who appeared towards the end of the Age of Enlightenment. Noun Tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. Immanuel Kant. A whole movement called developed in the wake of his work, and most of the subsequent history of philosophy can be seen as responses, in one way or another, to his ideas. Kantianism. According to empiricism and rationalism could be combined. Kant. According to Kant, and rationalism could be combined. Empiricism. According to Kant, empiricism and could be combined. Rationalism. Kant made a great contribution to ethics with his theory of the categorical imperative. The greatest and most influential of the German idealists was George Hegel. In England, the contemporary age began in the century. 19th. The most popular American movement of the late 19th century was pragmatism. Pragmatism was initiated by C.S. Peirce. Pragmatism was developed and popularized by William James and John Dewey, who founded the influential positivism. Auguste Comte. Was the picture theory of meaning tractatus. In the A.J. was largely responsible for the spread of this philosophical movement to Britain. 1930s Noun Tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. In the 1930s, was largely responsible for the spread of this philosophical movement to Britain. A.J. In very general terms, rejects scientism and tend towards historicism. Continental philosophy. In the early 20th century both wrote a book titled Principia Mathematica. Bertrand Russell and Alfred North Whitehead. Bertrand Russell and Alfred North Whitehead in the early 20th century both wrote a book titled Principia Mathematica. Russell's work was mainly in philosophy of language and the theory of logical atomism. Whitehead developed a metaphysical approach known as process philosophy. More's 1903 has become one of the standard texts of modern ethics and metaethics. Principia Ethica was the founder of phenomenology, a great and very influential movement of the century. Edmund Husserl a formal pupil of Husserl, attempted a decline of his master's philosophy phenomenology in his own philosophy. Martin Heidegger argued that existence was inextricably linked with time, and that being is just an ongoing process of becoming. Heidegger, according to, genuine human dignity can only be achieved by our active acceptance of this angst and despair. Sartre, in addition to, three main philosophical schools dominated continental philosophy in the second half of the 20th century. Existentialism. Now tutorial TV, share and subscribe. In addition to existentialism, main philosophical schools dominated continental philosophy in the second half of the 20th century. 3. The third school is called postmodernism. Is an even less well-defined field, marked by a kind of pick and mix openness to a variety of different meanings and authorities from unexpected places, as well as a willingness to borrow unashamedly from previous movements or traditions. Postmodernism is a method that focuses on literary criticism that questions traditional assumptions about certainty, identity, and truth, and looks for the underlying assumptions, both unspoken and implicit, as well as the ideas and frameworks that form the basis for thought and belief. Deconstruction. Deconstructionism is often called just deconstruction. Nigerian-born philosopher K.C. Anyanwu defined as that which concerns itself with the way in which African people of the past and present make sense of their destiny and of the world in which they live. African philosophy. Nigerian-born philosopher defined African philosophy as that which concerns itself with the way in which African people of the past and present make sense of their destiny and of the world in which they live. K.C. Anyanwu. According to Joseph I. Omerigbe, is one who attempts to understand the world's phenomena, the purpose of human existence, the nature of the world, and the place of human beings in that world. Philosopher. According to a philosopher is one who attempts to understand the world's phenomena, the purpose of human existence, the nature of the world, and the place of human beings in that world. Joseph I. Omerigbe. Is thinking. To think, man requires a language. Philosophy. Noun tutorial TV, share and subscribe. Philosophy functions on main attributes in a society. 3. Philosophy functions on three main attributes in a society. These attributes are, culture, civilization, and language. Has been used to record the beliefs found in African cultures. Ethnophilosophy. Argued in the Bantu philosophy that the metaphysical categories of the Bantu people are reflected in their linguistic categories. Placid temples. Argues that in African philosophy, age is seen as an important factor in gaining wisdom and interpreting the past. Algoa, Babalola, 1998. Algoa, Babalola, 1998, argues that in African philosophy, is seen as an important factor in gaining wisdom and interpreting the past. Age. More days, more wisdom, and what an old man sees seated, a youth does not see standing. Truth is seen as eternal and unchanging, truth never rots, but people are subject to error, even a four-legged horse stumbles and falls. It is dangerous to judge by appearances, a large eye does not mean keen vision, but first-hand observation can be trusted, he who sees does not err. The past is not seen as fundamentally different from the present, but all history is contemporary history, a storyteller does not tell of a different season. The future remains beyond knowledge, even a bird with a long neck cannot see the future. Nevertheless, it is said, God will outlive eternity. History is seen as vitally important, one ignorant of his origin is non-human, and historians, known as sons of the soil, are highly revered. The son of the soil has the python's keen eyes. Philosophical sagacity is also known as sage philosophy. Is a sort of individualist version of ethno-philosophy, in which one records the beliefs of certain special members of a community. Philosophical sagacity. Noun tutorial TV, share and subscribe. According to sage philosophy is the expressed thoughts of wise men and women in any given community and is a way of thinking and explaining the world that fluctuates between popular wisdom, known communal maxims, aphorisms and general common sense truths, and dialectic wisdom, an expounded wisdom and a rational thought of some given individuals within a community. Adira Orica. According to Adira Orica, is the expressed thoughts of wise men and women in any given community and is a way of thinking and explaining the world that fluctuates between popular wisdom, known communal maxims, aphorisms and general common sense truths, and dialectic wisdom, an expounded wisdom and a rational thought of some given individuals within a community. Sage philosophy. Is usually identified as that produced by African philosophers trained in the Western philosophical tradition, that embraces a universal view of the methods and concerns of philosophy. Professional philosophy. Insists that ethno-philosophy does not possess the ability to be critical, which is the most important characteristic of philosophy. Professional philosophy. Is considered a special case of philosophic sagacity, in which not sages but ideologues are the subjects. Nationalist and ideological philosophy. Is a philosophical current which insists that philosophy in Africa should be hermeneutic in nature. The hermeneutic philosophy. Is a theory and method of interpretation, especially, the interpretation of philosophical texts. Hermeneutics. Hermeneutics is a theory and method of interpretation, especially, the interpretation of philosophical texts. Hermeneutics is a theory and method of interpretation, especially, the interpretation of philosophical texts. Noun tutorial TV, share and subscribe. The emergence of philosophy from non-philosophy is made possible through the process of hermeneutics. The emergence of philosophy from non-philosophy is made possible through the process of hermeneutics, which is interpretation. Philosophers recognize that there are some African literary scholars whose writings reflects philosophical issues in their essays. Literary and artistic. Is an expression of reason or order in words or things, principle, mathematical ratio, thought or simply word. Logos. In the history of philosophy, was the first ancient Greek philosopher that developed some logical principles, and these are the principle of identity and the principle of non-contradiction. Parmenides. Defines logic as the study of the methods and principles used in distinguishing good, correct, from bad/incorrect reasoning. Copy defines as the study of the methods and principles used in distinguishing good, correct, from bad/incorrect reasoning. Logic. Constitute what we call logical processes. Simple apprehension, judgment, reasoning, and argument. Simple apprehension, judgment, reasoning, and argument constitute what we call logical processes. Is the act by which the mind forms the concept of something without affirming or denying anything about it. Simple apprehension. Simple apprehension is the act by which the mind forms the concept of something without affirming or denying anything about it. Is known as the act by which the mind affirms or denies something of something else. Judgment. Noun tutorial TV, share and subscribe. Constitute the third and last stage of any logical process. Reasoning and argument. Is also known as the act by which the mind passes from one, two, or more judgments to a further judgment distinct from the preceding ones but implicitly contained in them. Reasoning and argument. Dash is the tool with which philosophers performs their task of philosophizing. Logic. Traditionally, logic is divided into dash main branches. 2. Traditionally, logic is divided into two main branches, namely formal and informal. Dash is the study of inference with purely formal content, where that content is made explicit. Formal logic. Formal logic is often used as a synonym for dash dash. Symbolic logic. Dash is the study of natural language arguments. Informal logic. Dash refers to two important areas of research, and they are the application of the techniques of formal logic to mathematics and mathematical reasoning, and the other one is in the other direction, the application of mathematical techniques to the representation and analysis of formal logic. Mathematical logic. Dash is an extension of symbolic logic into other areas, to the study of model theory, proof theory, set theory, and recursion theory. Mathematical logic. Dash type of logic deals with the basic operations of truth values. Boolean logic. Dash is concerned with inferential reasoning that follows necessarily from given premises. Deductive logic. And dash is deductively valid if and only if the premise, S, follows from the conclusion, or if there is no reason for us to accept the premises as true and reject the conclusion. Inference. Noun tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. Dash is the opposite of deductive logic. Inductive logic. Inductive logic is the opposite of deductive logic. Dash is a logical process where a reliable generalization from observations is derived. Inductive logic. Dash require us to define a reliable generalization of some set of observations. Inductive logical evaluation. Dash form of logic is concerned with testing the truth-value validity of propositions through logical rules and principles. Prepositional logic. Dash is related to fuzzy set theory in mathematics. Fuzzy logic. Dash simply says that truth values are not limited to truth or falsity. Fuzzy logic. Dash deals with the phenomenon that subparts of a sentence may have their semantics modified by special verbs or modal particles. Modal logic. Dash is the logic of knowledge and belief. Epistemic logic. Epistemic logic is the logic of dash and belief. Knowledge. Epistemic logic is the logic of knowledge and belief. Epistemic logic is dash dash. The logic of knowledge and belief. Dash type of logic directly involves topics of considerable practical significance such as morality, law, social and business organizations, their norms, as well as their normative constitution, and security system. Deontic logic. Noun tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. There is no difference between a statement and a proposition in logic. True. Dash is known as evidence or reason. Premise. A dash refers to that proposition or statement, within an argument, which provides support for or grounds for asserting the conclusion of that argument. Premise. In a dash argument, the premises imply the conclusion. Valid. Dash and conclusion are relative terms. Premise. Premise and dash are relative terms. Conclusion. Conclusion does not necessarily mean the last sentence. True. The premise in an argument A can be the conclusion in argument B and vice versa. True. In a valid argument, the dash imply the conclusion. Premises. In a valid argument, the premises imply the dash dash. Conclusion. Premise and conclusion are dash terms. Relative. Dash does not necessarily mean the last sentence. Conclusion. The premise in an argument A can be the dash in argument B and vice versa. Conclusion. The dash in an argument A can be the conclusion in argument B and vice versa. Premise. Dash are words and expression that indicate the premises within an argument. Premise indicators. Noun tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. Dash are some expressions and words that function to indicate the conclusion within a passage. Conclusion indicators. In logic, dash is the process by which one proposition is arrived at and affirmed based on one or more other propositions accepted as the starting point of the process. An inference. And dash is a group of propositions that can be structured into two parts, that is premise, S, which is also known as reason, and conclusion, which can also be known as claim. Argument. The conclusion, which is part of the statements in an argument, is affirmed based on the other statements, which are called dash dash. Premises. An argument is said to be dash when the conclusion of that argument is derived from or follows from the premises. Valid. In a dash argument, it is necessary that if the premises are true, then the conclusion is true. Valid. Dash dash, minor and middle terms are all parts of a syllogism. Major and middle terms are all parts of a syllogism. Minor, minor and terms are all parts of a syllogism. Middle, major, minor and middle terms are all parts of a dash dash. Syllogism. In any syllogism, the premise containing the major of the syllogism is referred to as the dash of that syllogism. Major premise. In any syllogism, the term that occurs in both premises but does not occur in conclusion is called the dash of that syllogism. Middle term. Logicians define dash as that kind of argument in which the premises do not only support but also guarantee the conclusion. Deductive argument. Now tutorial TV, share and subscribe. A deductive argument is said to be valid if and only if a. The premises imply the conclusion, or b. The premises entail the conclusion, or c. The conclusion follows from the premises, or d. The premises necessitate the conclusion, or e. The conclusion can be inferred from the premises. An dash argument is one that the premises do not support the conclusion. Invalid deductive. From Wittgenstein point of view, the functions of language have been classified into headings. 3. From Wittgenstein point of view, the functions of language have been classified into three headings, that is dash dash. Informative, expressive, and evocative. The term performative utterances was first introduced by dash in 1955. J.L. Austin. The term performative utterances was first introduced by J.L. Austin in dash dash. 1955. The main characteristics of performative utterances that attract philosophical interest are as follows. 1. It offers counter-instance to the verification's claim that only meaningful sentences are those which express true or false statements. 2. It belongs to the category of non-descriptive sentences. They are neither true nor false, but only felicitous or infelicitous. 3. It can do justice to the communicative and intentional aspects of language. A dash is committed in the process of moving from the premises of an argument to its conclusion. Fallacy. A dash is an error in reasoning that tends to be psychologically persuasive. Fallacy. Dash is an invalid argument that has the deceptive appearance of being valid. Fallacy. According to Yajima, 2015, the classification of fallacies can be dated back to Aristotle, who gave two principal divisions, namely Noun tutorial TV, share and subscribe. A. Fallacies due to the misuse of language, and b. Those which arose from defects of thought rather than of language. Dash kind of fallacies are concerned with the structure or form of an argument, rather than the content. Formal fallacies. Formal fallacies are also called dash dash. Pure fallacy. The formal fallacy associated with the deviation from the modus ponens rule. This is called the fallacy of affirming the consequent. Dash is committed when the formal rule of affirming the antecedent or modus ponens is violated. Fallacy of affirming the consequent. Dash fallacy occurs when the rule of modus tollens is violated. The rule of modus tollens holds that in an argument, if the material conditional statement, first premise, is true, and its consequent is false, then its antecedent, conclusion, must be false. Fallacy of denying the antecedent. In categorical logic, A dash argument commits the existential fallacy if its conclusion is a particular proposition and both of its premises are universal propositions. Syllogistic. Dash fallacy occurs in any form of reasoning when the rule that every valid categorical syllogism must have at least one affirmative premise, A or I, is violated. Fallacy of exclusive premises. Informal fallacy is also known as material fallacy. Dash fallacies rests on the content of the argument. Informal. There are different types of informal fallacies, and these are I. Fallacies of ambiguity, 2. Fallacies of weak induction, 3. Fallacies of relevance, and 4. Fallacies of presumption. Noun tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. Dash fallacies occur when ambiguous words, phrase, or statements occur in arguments without carefully attending to the ambiguity. Fallacies of ambiguity. Dash are some words that contain more than one meaning. Fallacy of equivocation. The fallacy of equivocation occurs when such a word is used in a manner that implies different meanings or senses of the word within the same context. The fallacy of dash occurs when such a word is used in a manner that implies different meanings or senses of the word within the same context. Equivocation. The fallacies of amphiboly and ambiguity are very similar. True. The fallacy of dash is nothing more than the opposite of composition. Division. In the fallacy of dash, if the whole has the attribute x, therefore the parts must have the attribute x as well. Division. Dash fallacies present the premises of arguments in such a way that their conclusion could be doubted. Fallacies of relevance. The main business of dash fallacy is to attack the person who advances an argument rather than providing a rational critique of the argument itself. Fallacy of attack. The word is a Latin word which stands for staff. Baculum. The word baculum is a dash word. Latin. The word baculum is a Latin word which stands for dash. Staff. Dash fallacy is mostly used whenever a conclusion is defended by a threat to the well-being of those who do not accept it. Argumentum ad baculum. Noun tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. The word dash is seen as a symbol of power. Staff. The word staff is seen as a symbol of dash. Power. Dash is a Latin word which stands for people or notion. Populum. Populum is a Latin word which stands for dash. People or notion. Dash occurs when you try to persuade someone or a group by appealing to their emotion, feeling, and sentiments. Argumentum ad populum. Dash is a Latin word that stands for pity or mercy. Misericordium. Misericordium is a Latin word that stands for dash. Pity or mercy. Dash is a fallacy that attempts to support a conclusion simply by evoking pity in one's audience even though the statements that evoke the pity are logically unrelated to the conclusion. Argumentum ad misericordium. Fallacy of irrelevant conclusion, ignoratio elenchi, is also called dash, fallacy of ignoring the issue. Dash fallacy is committed when a claim is based on a rule that is generally valid, but the arguer fails to see the case at hand as an exception. Fallacy of accident. Dash fallacy is committed when there is the assumption in the argument's premises of what the arguer is out to prove. Fallacies of presumption. Dash fallacy of complex question is committed when two or more questions are asked together at once and as an answer to one question allows one to draw a conclusion regarding the other question. Fallacy of complex or loaded question. Noun tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. Dash occurs when an arguer attempts to base his claim on a prepared answer, such as a witness under cross-examination. Fallacy of leading question. Dash a Latin word which means begging the principle. Petito praecipiae is. Petito praecipiae is a Latin word which means dash. Begging the principle. The fallacy of dash is any form of argument whose conclusion is nothing more than a restatement of one of the premises. Begging the question. Dash fallacies are committed when in an argument, the premises offer some but not enough evidence for the conclusion. Fallacies of weak induction. Dash is a fallacy based on accepting uncritically the judgment of an expert merely because he is an authority without mindful of the evidence contained in the premises of the argument which ought to indicate the conclusion. Fallacy of appeal to authority, argumentum ad veracidium. The dash means that the conclusion of an argument is proven simply because nobody has proved the opposite. Appeal to ignorance. Dash fallacy is an argument which applies not only to the premise cases, but also to cases that are different in kind from those referred to in the premises. Fallacy of hasty generalization. Dash fallacy is committed when one argues that given the sequential or the frequent occurrences of an event in series, the probability of the event, reoccurrence will increase. Gambler's fallacy. In logic, the fallacy of dash simply means that you use a premise that unjustifiably reduces the number of alternatives to be considered. False dilemma. A dash is a sine qua non tool for effective communication. Definition. A definition is a dash tool for effective communication. Noun tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. Sine qua non. Dash of a thing has been described as statement of essence of a thing. Definition. A dash is one that explain what a word means. Nominal definition. Dash definition expresses the real nature of a thing. Real definition. The certain intrinsic elements that is to be defined is called dash dash. Definiendum. That which is doing the defining is called definiens. A dash definition is identical with a dictionary definition. Lexical. A dash definition is descriptive, reporting actual usage of the term, within speaker's usage of the term, rather than prescriptive, which would be to stick within a version regarded as correct regardless of drift in accepted meaning. Lexical. Dash definition has been described as a special brand of stipulative and precising definitions. Theoretical definition. Dash definitions is directed at developing coherent theoretical account of the subject at hand. Theoretical. A dash definition attempt to identify the extension of the term in question. Denotative. A dash definition tries to identify the intention of a term by providing a synonymous linguistic expression or an operational procedure for determining the applicability of the term. Connotative. A dash definition therefore is one that a term whether new or existing is given a new meaning for the purpose of argument or discussion in a given context. Stipulative. Dash definition is sometimes referred to as inductive definition. Recursive definitions. Dash is a form of definition that defines a word in terms of itself, although in a useful way. Recursive definitions. Recursive definition consists of 3 steps. Noun tutorial TV, share, and subscribe. 1. At least one thing is stated to be a member of the set being defined. This is sometimes called a base set. 2. All things bearing a certain relation to other members of the set are also to count as members of the set. It is this step that makes the definition recursive. 3. All other things are excluded from the set. A dash definition is one that has its term defined in such a way as to be an argument for a position. Persuasive. Dash definition is a form of definition that is used in contexts where the vagueness of a word, term, proposition is unacceptable. Precising. The dash stands for the word being defined, definiendum. The dash is the word or words that do the defining. Definiens. The universal affirmative proposition makes dash statements. Affirmative. Logicians define dash form as any sequence of symbols containing statement variables but no statements, such that when statements are substituted for the same statement variable throughout, the result is an argument. An argument. Dash is the simplest type of valid argument form that is constructed with hypothetical conditional statements. Modus ponens. Dash is that form of argument that has a disjunction as first premise. Disjunctive syllogism. The law of identity is always stated as follows: A is A. Here A stands for anything whatever. The originality of this law is that it simply states that anything is what it is. The dash is the third law of thought, and it states that everything is either A or not A. Law of excluded middle. Noun Tutorial TV, share and subscribe.